Hello, everybody. Happy Techy Tuesday to you. We are so happy you have chosen to join us. We even have our fearless leader with us today, Mr. Carlos Williams. Say hi, Carlos.
Hey, everybody.
We got Lynn and we have Nikki with us as well. And the ever amazing Chip to my queso, Amanda Jones, the librarian from Live Oak Middle. And she is going to give us a breakdown and some helpful hints and tips and tricks on the Google Forms. Anybody have anything else to say before we get started?
Just that I love the whole chips and queso thing.
Well, she's crunchy and I'm cheesy.
Whoa.
How does that even mean crunchy? Stop it.
I mean, you're a little granola. I mean, like, I don't know. You're crunchy. It's fine. It works.
I'm crunchy. You can go with that.
Go with it. So any questions you may have, please drop them in the chat. I will drop a link in a moment so that you can have a copy of this presentation. It is going to be a jam-packed 20, maybe 30 minutes. So do not hesitate to ask any questions you might have. I will stop Amanda. She will answer questions. And yeah, so hopefully we will be able to get you rolling with Google Forms. All right, Amanda, we're going to back ourselves out. And I will put your presentation in there and you can get started in just a moment.
All right. Can you see my screen? Are we good to go? Okay. So Techy Tuesday, Google Forms, hosted by Amanda Jones. So this is going to be really, really fast paced. So I want to keep it to 20 minutes because we all have things to do. We're getting off work. So I'm going to go super, super fast. I'm going to start from the basics, go a little more advanced. But what I'm going to do is as I talk, I'm going to show you some things, but then I'm going to link to a lot of resources where you can go and watch other webinars and videos and learn how to do this yourself. Okay, so we are going to start with ways to use Google Forms. So some of you might not even realize some of the ways that you can use Google Forms. I love to use it for surveys and polls. I'm constantly creating a Google form and emailing it to the teachers at my school, asking their opinions and what they want to do on certain things in the library. Sign-up sheets for literacy night, things like that. But if you're a teacher in the classroom, you might want to use it for auto-graded quizzes. I'm going to show you how it will automatically grade and it will put everything directly into a Google Sheet, which makes it very easy to grade. Put directly into your grade book. You can use it for bell ringers or exit tickets. I like to post a little Google form and I'll have maybe 1 or 2 questions as an exit ticket. Digital breakouts, those are a little more intense and advanced, but I'm going to show you how to do that and how to learn how to do those for yourself and give you some templates. And then, you can use Google Forms as a way to break up your assignment with little videos and images. So we are going to, I wanted to mention this link right here. Now the presentation should be in the notes or the description of this YouTube video. And I'm sure Heather will probably drop the link in the comment section. Oh, she already did. So if you click on this, 25 practical ways from Ditch That Textbook. So there are even more ways that you can use Google Google Forms in the classroom. So new forms. If you're going to start creating a new form, you just type in forms.new right up here where you would type your URL and it will open up a brand new document. And ta-da, you're done. Now, once you start an original form, if you're doing something like a digital breakout or an assignment, it can get pretty in-depth the very first time you set one up. So the cool thing is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you do a new assignment. You can go in and make a copy of that. So I'm going to show you. You type in forms.new and that automatically starts a new form for you. If you are going to be using something that you've already created, you would go over here, click on, my computer is very slow right now. I apologize. Make a copy, and you would make a copy. And I'll show you some of the reasons why you might want to do that in just a moment. All right, so the basics. When you start a new Google form, you can change the themes, settings, all of that information. So we're looking at a new form right here. Actually, let me take you to one I already did. So here's a form. So if you want to change, you want to add a little picture up here. You can work on theme. It looks like a little painter's palette. You click on that and you can customize your theme. You can add images, you can change the color, you can even change the font style over here on the side. So you can kind of jazz it up a little bit. You can also work on the settings. So you click the little wheel, I call it a cog. I'm not sure what it's actually supposed to be called, but these are the settings. And here's where you will go in and you will say, well, do you want to collect email addresses for each student? Do you want to limit them to one response or let them try multiple responses? Do you want to allow them to edit after they submit? All sorts of information right there. What I like are the quizzes. So you can choose to make it a quiz and assign point values to each question that you're putting into your form. And you can show when you want to release the grades, what the students can see. Do you want them to see their missed questions? Do you want them to see point values, all that? And that's how you set that up. Once you have it set up and you start typing in all of your questions and you put your information, you can click the little eye up here and it will show you a preview. And you see I've already responded on this form, but it would normally show you a preview of what the students would see when they do a Google form. Okay, so you set up your form. You've done your theme, your settings, your preview. You haven't started on questions yet. And say you're working with another teacher. Okay, so you can go up here to send and you click on the send button and you can add collaborators. So if I wanted to allow Heather or anyone else, I could type in that person and I could add them as a collaborator. And so if you have a team teacher, you can work on this lesson together.
Hey, Amanda, we have a question.
Yes. Okay.
Is this different than the forms in our 0365 account?
I think it's way better.
They are different and they do not connect. I can't tell you that much.
Yeah.
Kind of works the same way, but I'm going to let you continue. So they're not the same. This is forms through Google.
Yeah, so Google is one company and Microsoft is a whole other company, and they're two completely separate things. But I think Google is superior and it has worked out some of the kinks compared to, that's just my personal opinion though, compared to the Microsoft Forms. I've used the Forms exclusively for the past few years. Another thing you can do, once you have your form and your questions and all that, you can click this, you can make a link, it can shorten the URL, you can send this to your students, you can drop it in Google Classroom, and here's even an embed code. So if you're a principal or administrator or whoever runs your school website, you could actually go and make a poll or a survey for parents and click this embed frame and give it to the person who is your webmaster, and they could actually load it directly into your school website. Now, preferences. Did I talk about preferences?
No, not yet.
Preferences right here. You can look at preferences and you can make questions required. You can kind of set that up for every question, or you can go question by question and decide if you want to make certain questions required or certain quizzes, certain points. So if you know in advance that you want every one of the questions in your form, you've taken it for a grade and you want it to be 2 points, you could go in here and put it there. I like to do different varying points levels for each one. So I just do it as a question by question basis. Okay, so that's the basics, setting up your form and getting it ready. So after you do that, you want to start adding your questions, sections, videos, and images. So let me show you one that I have already done. This is my library orientation, and I made a copy to show you. So what I did, here's section 1. So I have section 1, and I put where they could put their name, last name, first name, and I did it separate so that in my Excel document later, it'll all be sorted. I can sort it by student. I have a drop-down menu in which I have added every teacher, because if you let the kids type in the teachers' names, they misspell them, and that will also affect it if you're doing multiple teachers using the same form and you want to sort those later in a sheet. Then down here, you can go through. You click the plus sign, you can add a question. You can import questions, you can add text and titles, you can add images and videos, you can even add another section. So my first section is usually like the basic info, who's filling this out and who is their teacher. So this is a library orientation form I did. This is actually an entire lesson I did using Google Forms. So when I went over here, I had added text and I put returning books, and I added a video. So I had recorded a video in Loom, and I went in and I uploaded this video directly into my form so that it plays when the students are watching it. Then they answer the questions. Then it says continue to the next section because I broke it down into different categories related to my library lesson. And I might ask more than one question. But just real quickly, that's what it would look like if you went through and you added videos and questions. I'm going to get into more of that in just a second. Now, duplicating and moving sections. So what I like to do is if I'm going to be asking multiple choice questions or the same type, I will go here and I will just copy, and it will pop up the exact same question, and you just change the question and you change your answers. This is valuable if you have different, well, I'll show you why that's important in just a minute. But you go in, you put your answers, and then you choose which one is your correct answer. You can see here, you can even put in a picture for that. And I know I'm going fast. I'm going to give you lots of resources to go back and look at this. You can move your sections around. You can choose what type of responses you want to have. So if you are, this is a different one. This is my 6th grade social studies, ancient history, ancient Egypt lesson I did. It's got the basic info, pictures, blah, blah, blah. So if I was adding a section.
Hey, Amanda, since you're talking about sections, we do have a question that's been sent in to us.
Okay.
Why would you want different sections?
Okay, so this is what you're looking at right now would be a good example of why you would want different sections. So if I'm doing something step by step and I want the students to make sure they've completed one step before they go on to the next one, I put it in sections. So for instance, here is section 2, and I wanted them to find their e-card before they did anything else. Once they've done that, they click on next, then they go to the next section. Then they go to this website, they get everything set up, go to the next section. Then that's where they start watching videos and answering questions. Another thing is going to be important when I show you digital escapes. You're going to have different sections for your responses for digital escapes. You could essentially, though, if you're just asking 5 or 6 questions, put it all in one section. I just break it up into sections if we're doing different categories or if I want the students to focus on one step before they move on to the next step. All right. Now, there was one more thing. Moving sections based on answers. Let me show you. Heather and I did a Lord of the Rings digital escape, and actually a student created this, and then I just kind of tweaked it a little bit. So this is a good, another reason why you would want to do sections. So for this, they had a question, and then based on their answers, you can choose. So if they chose, and you can add pictures. If they chose the correct section, they would go on to the next question. So if they chose the correct section, the correct answer right here, they would go to section 4, question 2. But if they got the question wrong, they would go to this that would say, you shall not pass. And it would make them go back and answer the section correctly before moving on to the next question. And so they would go on to the next question. If they got it correctly, they would go to the next section. If they didn't, they would go to you shall not pass before moving on. So that would be a really good reason why you would want to have sections. Now, Heather and I did a digital escape webinar where we go way in depth on Google Forms. And then Heather has put in, this is a webinar I did by myself, but I used several templates that Heather has already created, and they are embedded in this presentation. I urge you to go in and look at some of Heather's pre-made templates for forms that are so easy. You just load in your information already. All right, so once you want to find your responses and grades. So after your students complete it, you send them the link, drop it in Google Classroom, however you want to send it to them. You get responses, and I'm going to be careful on this because it has kids' names, so I'm going to try to move quickly. But once the kids finish, you'll see what is the average, median, range, and then frequently missed questions. What were this is a pretest, that's why they did horribly on it. And then let me pass up the kids' names. And then there's other information. You can see how they did. There's lots of charts and information. So once they finish, you can find out how they scored as a whole, per question, as an individual, how did they score? But the cool thing is you can click this right here and that will take you to a Google Sheet. And the Google Sheet, and I did take my students' names out of this so for PII purposes, but you can sort it. So you can see which teachers, it'll have their names. You can sort it by teacher. So there was 3 teachers that did this. So Ms. Freeman could sort hers together. They all collaborated on this. They could sort it by hour. Then they could go in and sort it by student's last name. And there's their scores. And you can load their scores directly into your PowerSchool. And then you can go over here and you can see what their answers, what answers they chose, and what you need to work on for each student. So that's a way to pre-grade, and then everything, all their answers are in a Google Sheet when they are finished. You can get a little fancy with this. So like I said, I had mentioned earlier, you can embed it into a website. There are add-ons, and we're not going to go into all that because that can get really, really in depth. But add-on forms. I put the link in this presentation. You click on that, it will bring you here to add-ons, and you can go down here and you can see get email notifications for Google Forms, timify it, add timers to it, form limiters, form publishers. Like it just goes on and on. You can like really spice up your Google Forms by using an add-on. There are some links to some innovative ways, maybe some out-of-the-box creative ways you could use Google Forms in your classroom. You can use pre-filled links, and I misspelled links, and that's bothering me. But pre-filled links where some of the information is already filled in for the students when they get started. Analytics dashboard, if you really want to break it down even further than what a sheet would do, analytics dashboards. And then there's even a link on showing you how to use Google Forms to email parents. You can set it up to email parents, and it'll pre-fill that student and grades and things. And you can, it gets way technical and fancy, but you can click on that link and it will tell you exactly what to do using that link. Now, what I want to show you, the last thing I want to show you, because I promised you that this would be super fast, there are tips and tricks. I've created a Wakelet board. If you're unfamiliar with Wakelet, it is a way to curate resources. You really need to look into it because it's fabulous, but you can click on this in the presentation. You can click on it and it will take you to a Wakelet board. So what I've done is I've compiled as many resources, not as many as I could find, but the best ones, the best resources I can find. So if you click in that in the presentation, it will bring you to all of this information. So it will bring you back. We have housed this, I have housed this webinar. So you can go back and look at the webinar, and I've housed my presentation. You can go back and look at that. This is the presentation that has forms and templates that Heather's created, and that we actually break it down and go step by step even further into like making digital escapes and adding pictures and going to sections and doing all that. But then there are about 20 other resources in here. All sorts of information from Ditch That Textbook or from Shake Up Learning, just different tools, best practices, introduction to Google Forms for teachers if you want to go back and even look at even more basic information, innovative ideas, expanding more information about add-ons. All sorts of information are included in this resource board that is attached to this presentation that I'm giving right now. Forms can be very daunting at first. I know when I first started it, it kind of blew my mind, and I was having to call Heather all the time. I'm like, Heather, what do I do? How do I go to the next section? How do I do this? How do I go back here? Once you do your first one, it gets really simple, and you can start copying and your previous ones and just tweaking it. So don't be scared. Jump into Google Forms, try it out. But I did want to include in the presentation, I've included my contact information. So please feel free to email me if you have any questions. If you use Forms for the first time and you are on Twitter, please tag me. I love to see when educators try something new that they've learned in one of my webinars, and tag me on Twitter and I'll give you a shout out. But this is the rest of my information on here. And that is all I have to say about it. I told you I'd be super fast, Heather.
That was super duper fast. Make sure you go and you follow Amanda on all of her social media platforms. And if you have any questions on how to do forms, she is now your new expert. No.
I was cracking up at your sandwich bitmoji at the end. I was like, I feel that.
But no, we are definitely here to support you. If you decide to jump into Google Forms and you have questions, you can reach out to me as well. I have no problem helping you with that and stuff. But we want to thank you for taking time out on your Tuesday to join us to try to learn a little bit more. And Amanda, thank you for putting together a presentation.
You know, I like to talk.
You do so good at it.
You
Well,
are.
I feel like that was like super fast, but I kind of went over what like my teachers constantly come and ask me for help with, and it was the basics on changing themes and things like that. So I hope I covered that. And at least if you didn't understand what I was talking about, at least there's some links to some resources, or you have my email so that you can come and get.
I thought it was perfect.
Perfect. Love the resources. So. All right. Well, thank you so much. We will pick back up with Techy Tuesdays in January since we are about to go out on break. So keep your eyes peeled on social media channels for what is coming next. We have a fun, packed spring. And if there's a specific one that you would like to see, let us know. We might be able to squeeze one in for you. So again,
Callie, let us know if there's anything you can think of.
Yes. Or if you want to present.
Oh, yeah. Do that too.
Yeah. Anyway, so from the technology team, thank you very much.